What's going on, everyone? Welcome, Rabid here, and today I'm going to be testing out the new ETI update for the E300 FPGA miner. This did release. It looks like the announcement was December 15th, so a few weeks ago here. I'm a little bit late, and it does say they recommend starting with a core clock of 650 megahertz and a voltage of about 700 millivolts. Once your mining operation is running smoothly, feel free to explore higher or lower clock speeds and different voltage settings. ETICA bitstream supports clocks of 800 plus megahertz. Also, which isn't in here, but if you're familiar and you've been watching some of my videos on this machine, you also want to make sure your voltage regulator module temps remain below 90 degrees Celsius. Also, this is a manual update. It's not part of the automatic updating system like we usually see when they officially release updates. So maybe this is kind of like a beta version here, because due to the fact that this probably still has some tweaking and stuff to go with. So we are going to have to manually update this. I will be doing that and showing you how to get that done. All right, so here we have the E300. Everything is plugged in and ready to roll here. So if you saw my other video there, the server power supply as well as breakout board does use 27 watts. So what that means is when any of the numbers you're going to see here, I do subtract 27 watts from the wall. That way I know exactly how much this E300 is using. Now you can run 2 or 3 off a single server power supply depending on the size of that server power supply, and then you'll need some different wattages and so on. But for the 1200 watt, you should be able to run 2 E300s and really not have to worry depending on the coin you're running, and of course the overclocks you're running as well, or you will start going over that 1200 watt range. Now for this, if I only have one here, obviously it makes sense. You're going to have to keep the 27 watts there because that is the power that your power company is going to be charging you. But I do want to figure out how much the E300 is using all by itself. Now let's go take a look at some hash rates and setup. All right, so here I am in the dashboard of the E300, and the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure your miner is stopped. If you're mining away on something, hit that stop button here. I just fired it up because I moved it to the watt meter. It is not running, so make sure it is stopped before you proceed. Now you're going to click on update firmware. We're going to move this over into manual here. We're going to save that. It's going to do its thing. Yes. And now we're going to manually update this. So we're going to go to choose file here. I'm going to go into my download section, and I just downloaded it right here. You do not need to extract it or anything. You straight up put in the tar file itself, and now simply hit upgrade firmware. So now we're just going to wait a few minutes and we will come back once it updates. Let's take note here. We are currently on N2.0.23, which is the latest version that does give that radiant boost. All right, so about 2 to 3 minutes went by. It still says the current version, but I did hear the fans ramp up and shut back down, so I'm assuming it rebooted. So I'm just going to hit the refresh button here, and now I'm going to come back into update firmware. And now we can see we are N2.0.24 RC2. So successful update here. So now we're going to come into our mining board here, and I'm going to set some voltages. Now it used to be early on where it was very finicky. You had to have your miner stop to set your voltages, but it does look like it does work well on the fly here while you're mining. So, you know, I still kind of used to doing it beforehand, but you can do this on the fly as well. So we're going to set some voltages. I'm going to bring this back up. All the top 3 pools are in their Discord on Osprey here by default. ETICA pool, OX pool here, and ETI.whatever. If we go into mining pool stats, scroll on up, we can see those are the top 3 pools. So that part is already easy. Now I don't have a wallet, so I am going to just use an exchange wallet. Never recommended to mine to an exchange, but this is for testing purposes, so that's what I'm going to do. So that's where I'm getting my wallet address at this point. So now I'm going to set some voltages here. I'm coming into their Discord, and they do say set at about 750 millivolts, or I guess 700 at 650 core. So I'm going to set this to 700. We're going to hit 700 here. Just doing it like so. We'll set it across all 3. It looks like I'm already set at 700 from my past updates here, but I'm just going to show you how to get it done. Now just hit apply, and it will change your voltages around. You can also set individual FPGAs depending on the coin you're mining. Some you can set for each individual one, and others you may have to just do it all at once. Now I do believe the voltages you can set no matter what per FPGA if one's going down or something, but some of them with the core settings you can only set certain cores for all of them, not individual ones. But most of them do have individual overclocking capability. So next up, we're going to come into the miner here. All right, so coming into the miner here, you can select your developer, which is the dev of the bitstream you want to use. Either it's Team Red Miner, Allfather, K1 Lab, or Whitefire. And depending on what coin you want to mine, depends on the dev that you want to utilize. The other way you can do it if you're not sure is simply go to Algo here, and now we can see ETICA is here. So we're simply just going to click on that, and it will select. You can see it moved over to Whitefire at this point. So now it can set to mine ETICA. Now, as I mentioned earlier about individual FPGA core clocks or one setting for all of them, it does look like Radiant as well as ETICA now both only use the single setting. So I'm going to come into here, and we already have our voltage set at 700, so they do say 650 of a core. So I'm just going to put 650 here. There's 3 VU 35P FPGAs within the big bad boy E300, the big package there. So this will set it on all 3 FPGAs. Worker ID, I don't think Worker ID is supported yet for ETICA, but I guess we'll find out what happens once we start seeing this at the pool. So now we got to adjust our pool and our wallet. So as mentioned, I'm mining to the exchange, so I'm going to get rid of this wallet address, which is Kyla coin, into the exchange here. I'm going to copy that, bring it in, paste that in like so, and now we got to adjust our pool parameters. So I'm just going to bring up Discord here and select this guy right here. Oh, it's not going to let me copy it, are you? All right, so it's not going to let me copy it, so I'm actually going to have to go into the pool itself. Okay, so I guess I actually lied. I can copy it by simply clicking in the top right corner here, but it does copy all 3, but that's okay. All we got to do is paste that in and just get rid of the other ones that we don't want to use. So coming back into here, everything should look good at this point. So now we got eticapool.com port 8081. So now I'm simply going to hit that start button, and then it should start loading this bitstream and then begin mining. So let's see what happens here. So that's all setting. It's starting to run the bitstream. We're going to go into the miner logs, and this is where we can watch it start to begin loading that bitstream. And it's already at 100%. That's pretty fast, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. All right, so I lied again. It wasn't done loading the bitstream. So now you can see we are still trying to load the bitstream here. It hasn't been very long, like 30 seconds, but I did want to point out that it's not like an instant load or anything. All right, so here it looks like the bitstream is loading up on the FPGAs. It's starting to load the clocks and everything. So we should start seeing some hash rate any minute. Okay, so we do have some hash rates. There is something I want to point out. One, I blew my breaker because I forgot to turn off my CPU mining rig. 2 of them in this room, as well as the 4090. Breaker exploded, but we're back now. We're hashing. But you do not put the TCP and everything like I did have in here. Only the pool address, because when I came back, now that it has to reload everything again, it was saying error connecting to the pool, but now it's finally connecting to the pool. And now we found a solution here, submitting to the pool. So we just found a share. Awesome. But yeah, we are now mining. We don't use the Stratum plus TCP like we normally would with this coin. It's straight the URL to the pool only. So right now it is looking like we are around 30.8 to 31. Is this gigahash? I don't even know what this is. Hashes, gigahash. I'm not even sure what we're hashing in right now. So actually right here it does say gigahash. So we are doing about 30.8 to 31 gigahash. Now just coming into the pool here, we can see that that share that we found is at the pool, and we are detected at the pool. And again, there's no worker names here, so the worker name is not working. Now before I try to crank this up a little bit more, I do want to point something out about ETI. So if we look right here, this is early December, looks like around December 1st, December 2nd. This became a very profitable coin. I think it turned into the most profitable coin to mine on GPUs, and the hash rate skyrocketed. Now, if you remember back to Ethereum POS, what happened with Ergo, even though they were warned by multiple people ahead of time that their their difficulty adjusts very slow, kind of like Bitcoin, so they're going to get slammed to GPUs, and that's what happened here. Is now we are still stuck at a massive high difficulty rating, and all the hash rate we can see here just took off, left the network here because the profitability dropped, but the difficulty still remains way up here. Now, I don't know how long the blocks are supposed to be, so I can't do any type of profit calculators right now. But if I come into what to mine, it is currently saying that the block time is 423 minutes. That's a long freaking time between each block, or in this case, they're calling it each epoch, and it's been sitting here for over a month now. Well, yeah, over a month, because that was December 2nd when that happened. So, and once the actual difficulty finally adjusts, which is who the heck knows when, we could see ETI become very profitable again. That's why it's probably a good idea to get these FPGAs ready, because you're probably going to be scooping up a lot of coins when that difficulty finally drops down next to nothing. All right, so just a quick peek at the power here. We are about 446 watts. So remember, we're going to have to subtract 27 from this number. Another thing I do want to point out here, it seems every time I stop the miner, now that I want to try to up the clocks a little bit, it's kind of glitched out. I can go into miner logs, up into here, back up into here, but back into the miner. Oh, it's actually here now. There were times where I actually had to do Shift F5 for it to finally show up. So I guess if this happens to you, you know, just click somewhere else, Shift F5, and everything will come back here. But I do notice every time I stop the miner, at least on this version right now, again, this is the one that only allows ETI, and it's probably another reason why it's a manual update. Do it if you want ETI only, or just stick to the latest stable version, which is that Radiant Boost. But right now, I'm going to start adjusting the clocks a bit. So I'm going to try 700 here, but first I'm going to up the voltage to maybe 750. So I'm going to apply change voltage here, hit that, wait a couple seconds and see if it applied. So it looks like 750, 750, 751. So it did apply. I'm going to come back in the miner and I'm going to move this to 700. I'm assuming because we have to start with such high voltage in the first place, this probably won't be stable, but I'll just see what happens here. So now I'm going to begin the miner all over again. It's going to load those bit streams and we'll see what happens here. All right, so let's take a look at everything I went through and what we got for hash rate. So our original one here, 650 on the core, using 700 volts for our voltage there. We were getting about 31 gigahash at 419 watts at the wall. If you only have the one, again, add 27 watts to this. That is a mega hash per watt ratio of 73.98. Moving into the next setting, I tried 700 on the core, 750 voltage. That was 523 watts. And we have 35.87 gigahash at a mega hash to watt ratio of 68.58. And then I did try 800 on the core, 790 on the voltages. So also keep in mind, everything was stable at these, so I could probably bring voltages down and get more efficient numbers and less power at the wall. But right now, ETI, I personally don't think is worth mining. But once that difficulty does drop, it's probably going to become extremely profitable. Regardless, 688 watts here with 800 core, 790 volts, 40.29 gigahash is what it slowly did creep up to after about 15-20 minutes, but it did like to settle down around 38 gigahash or so, but it did come back upwards to over 40 gigahash quite a few times. And now we're looking at the mega hash per watt at 40.29. That is about 58.56. Now, one thing I do want to point out here is, how does this compare versus a GPU? This is a $5,000 miner. Again, coupon codes down in the description will drop that down a decent amount, but still it's an expensive FPGA miner here. But you are getting 3 of them, which are equivalent of the VU35Ps, close to a C1100, but again, I'm not an FPGA expert, so let me know down in the comments how they do actually compare versus each other. But looking at 31 gigahash here at 73.98 megahash per watt, 419 watts, here is the RTX 4090 on ETI, courtesy of Hashrate.no, and it is saying about 4.8 gigahash or 4,800 megahash, efficiency of 18.68 at 257 watts. So think about that for a second, guys. 4.8 gigahash. The E300 is about 6.45, so almost 6.5 RTX 4090s inside of that beast, and it's doing it at about 1.5 4090s worth of power. So you can see the efficiency boost that FPGAs have over a super expensive top of the line RTX 4090, which is arguably one of the best GPUs you could have in your arsenal right now, but it's just so damn expensive. But the E300 blows this thing away on pretty much all the coins that it does mine, but for ETI especially, you can see how the efficiency is way different here. So now coming back into this, Again, I mentioned about that difficulty. It is still extremely high. And once that does drop down, though, we're probably going to see very high profitability on ETI again, especially on a lot of the FPGA. So get them ready. This thing looks like an extremely awesome miner for ETI. It's just that the difficulty literally sucks on it. And once it drops, I imagine it's probably going to get smashed with hash rate from GPUs again. A lot of people don't really know why. They're just going to say, oh, this coin's not profitable anymore, and not realize that the difficulty is going to be stuck there for another 2 months or so once it happens again. I don't know if the team is fixing something in the background or how all that works. It's part of the whole ETICA, EGAS type of system there, where EGAS is the main coin. ETI is just like a coin kind of built on it with a contract or something. But regardless, you know, I got to do a lot more research on that ecosystem. But right now, this is the current hash rates that I did get on the E300 on ETI. Now, coming soon, be ready, because all the public bit streams are almost available now. It looks like there is a little hiccup, but the E300 will also be getting a lithium support very soon. Let's just do a quick news report here. Looking at this post, Whitefire did say that today when testing, we found that Viper Pool gives a 2 byte extra nonce, while Hero Miners gives us a 3 byte extra nonce. This means I will have to modify and rebuild the entire bit streams just to account for this small difference. So different pools are using different byte extra nonces. So it looks like the bit stream for a lithium is going to be delayed. All you GPU miners out there, hip hip hooray, but pretty soon a lithium will be smashed with FPGAs. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Rabid out.